All right, welcome, folks, to Game 5. Seattle versus the Stars. We're live at the AAC with our pregame show. Myself and King Dawk to the left of me. All right, man, Game 5, big time matchup tonight. Stars bounce back against Seattle in Seattle. A much needed game with an onslaught of goals. Talk about last game.
Yeah, they, of course, Seattle was not surprised by how Dallas came out. In fact, Dallas came out much in the same way we expect Seattle to come out tonight. Seattle's going to come out humming. That's what Dallas did. They withstood some of that, but when they got into the grill of Grubauer, the goaltender for the Kraken, it was lights out. So hopefully he didn't tip his hand and show that that's going to frustrate him, because he's going to see a lot more of that tonight. But again, what's funny about this particular series is that it is literally going the exact same way the Minnesota series went in terms of wins and losses. Again, there's a lot of people in Dallas after Game 3 thinking it was church, thinking, okay, they beat us that bad. And they were thinking it was, in the playoffs, when you lose a game, you don't think you're going to ever win another game. And you win a game, you don't think you're going to ever lose another one. So, but they did what they needed to do. Again, home ice advantage is back in their court. Now it's the best 2 out of 3. Game 5 and Game 7 being here in Dallas, if Game 7 is necessary. So this ought to be an exciting one tonight.
Yeah. And, throughout this series, we haven't seen a team win back-to-back games. And I think that's one of the deciding or big conversations for tonight. Yeah. Can the Stars win back-to-back games? Now, the Stars have not lost back-to-back games either. So it's very interesting, interesting the way the series is going. But if you, I've been listening to all the interviews this week, and they've been really focused about coming into this Game 5 and being aggressive and getting those shots on goal.
Yeah. The Game 5 in any playoff series, whether it's the NBA, whether it's the NHL, any Game 5 is a huge game. And the team who goes up 3-2, the numbers are, just outrageous in terms of how often they win the series. So again, the Stars have proven that they can win back-to-back games in a series like they did against the Wild in Game 5 and Game 6. However, what's more important to me is the fact that they've not lost back-to-back games, as being mentioned, in the 2023 playoffs. And as long as you can keep that record going, you're going to stay in every series you're in, because if they can't beat you back-to-back, they can't eliminate you. So if they just keep that streak up, I think they'll be fine. So
yeah. Now, Miro, man, coming back from that injury, if anybody has seen his face, it definitely looks like a puck hit it. But the toughness of him, bouncing back, being able to, and you could tell how much the Stars missed him while he was out. And then you look at when he came back and the impact that he had. And all of the Stars players and Coach DeBoer are praising him just because of his warrior-like mentality.
Yeah, no, you see, I wish we would have uploaded a picture of Miro here to be able to post right now. It does not look like a puck hit him in the face. It looks like a truck hit him in the face is what it looks like. You're talking about a corrugated piece of rubber that is about 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches wide, and about an inch, an inch and a quarter, inch and a half thick. And it's going at about 80 miles an hour, okay, when it hits you in the face.
Right.
So just think about anything hitting you in the face at 80 miles an hour.
Right.
It's not going to feel good.
No.
So while he's getting stitched up during that game, he's actually trying to come back in right then and there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the score got out of hand before he could make it back. So what Miro Heiskanen means to Dallas Stars defensively, we can't quantify. It is just unquantifiable. He is that important to what the Stars do defensively. Now, with that being said, you got some young guys like Thomas Harley out of Syracuse, New York. He's only 22 years old. He doesn't turn 23 until later this year in August. Again, he's bringing some of that New York grit. because he is getting tough. I saw him get into some faces
Yeah.
in game 4. So he's getting his sea legs, again, pun intended. So as he grows, and again, think about it, when you get to play with people like Pavelski and Heiskanen, and you get to see that up close and personal, that's going to make you a better player, you know. So Thomas Harley is coming with it, you know. So again, right now, Miro Heiskanen, there's only one other player on the team, as far as I'm concerned, that is, maybe two, that is as important as Miro Heiskanen is, and that is Ottinger, and that is Pavelski.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing up Thomas Harley, who got his first playoff goal in the previous game, in game 4, and that gives you more and more confidence. So a lot of what the Stars players have been saying is that it's great to see it, but he's been there. This is just his time getting his goal, and I think that is great for the Stars, but also great for him as he continues to build his confidence.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, putting again, as a defenseman, you get a goal. You know, again, I think Miro Heiskanen said it best. He concentrates on their defensive end. You know, that's him first, and he goes and he says, "A good defense is what spurs his offense."
Right.
So it is exactly how I used to coach basketball back in the day in select basketball. I didn't teach any offensive sets until the day before our first game. Every practice up until the first game, I only taught defense. We ran a 1-3-1 trap. And I'm like, we're going to score off of that because we're going to get turnovers. So we're going to be getting fast break points. I'm not concerned about what we do on the offensive end. I actually taught a set the night before the game.
Yeah.
And so his philosophy is the same. My defense is how I'm going to get offense.
Yeah. Well, my only question is, was there a James Harden on the team that was yelling, ISO, ISO?
Yes, and her name was Jasmine Dawkins, my daughter. So yeah, I had a couple of these that, you know, they were ISO'd and they taking it to the hole, so you couldn't stop them. I didn't need the offensive set anyway.
Yeah. Now we got our first empty netter in the previous game. I think that's the first one for the playoffs for the Stars.
I think we may have got one in round 1, but I can't remember. You know, yeah, because I think they actually, I think Domi was about to score it and he dumped it off to somebody. It was like a real good feel-good deal.
Yeah.
To where he could have taken the empty netter, but instead he passed it to a teammate. So, so I think they did get one in the closing out the while.
Yeah. Now let's get to some injuries. We have Mason Marchman. We have Yanni Hakanpää, and then we have one other player that was on the list. Drawing a blank right now.
It wasn't the Donovan.
No, it was.
I'll have to check it.
We'll look it up.
Check that while I'm talking about Marchman, because Marchman took an elbow to the chin. As if Ali had just punched him, and he went down, and he was down for a while. And what's funny about that is that he has taken an embellishment call or two up to this point, but he went down hard, you know. And I actually tweeted during the game that Mason Marchman might be in concussion protocol because he took such a hard elbow. In hockey, you know, they generally are not very specific with regard to the injuries that have a player has sustained. You know, they will call it either an upper body injury or a lower body injury.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, even Miro Heiskanen's jaw injury, they never said he's got a jaw injury. They just said he's got an upper body injury.
Right, and that is they are not specific at all. So if you look at an injury report, it's not going to give you a torn ACL like they do in the NFL. And it was Delandria. So coach is saying that they're all game time decisions.
Yeah.
I 100% get it. You're not gonna give your hand in this situation. This is playoff hockey. Players, coaches, everybody could be watching the interviews and the press conferences. So he's definitely keeping that tight to the vest. But I think one thing we've learned is that the depth on this Stars team is so deep, and that was players that were coming in that hadn't played all series for the most part. So being able to see this depth, which the next man up mentality, that's what every player has been talking about, and you can definitely see it throughout the series.
And that's one of the similarities that the Stars have with the Kraken is that they both have 4 lines. There's not going to be very much drop off in their lines. You know, whether it's their first line, whether it's their fourth line, they all got players on those lines. So you don't get to, in other words, you don't get to take a break on defense.
Right.
You know, and they're changing on the fly, so there's no real drop off. So yeah, the depth of both teams is very similar. Now, in terms of the injuries, if I'm not mistaken, based on the earlier press conferences, the morning skates and whatnot, I think Todd DeLandria has a good chance of playing today.
Yeah.
I'm not really looking for Mason Marchman to play today. I think they only gave him like a 10% chance to play today.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I think it's definitely game time decision. And then let's talk about Max Domi. This is his first year on the team. A lot of players have spoke volumes about him and just how he has been. He's fit in well with the team, not only, but he's taken on that leadership role and helping those other members of the team. And whenever he's in, you can tell that he has just as much determination as any other player on the team.
Yeah, Max Domi, again, he only scored 7 points in 20 regular season games since his acquisition. The Stars acquired him on March the 2nd this year. Again, there were 20 regular season games left. He only scored 7 points. People were saying, I don't know about this acquisition.
Right. Yeah,
well,
that has changed.
In the playoffs, just the other night, he scored 3 points in that one game 4 by scoring 2 goals and an assist. In addition to that, he was the first to come to, pardon me, he was the first to come to Pavelski's end game 1 whenever he got hit. So again, of the Minnesota series.
Yeah.
So again, Domi is about it, you know. So they say there are some practice players, they say there are some game day players, and then there are some playoff players. And Max Domi is proven to be a playoff player. You know? So again, not only on the offensive zone, but again, he'll mix it up and drop the gloves if necessary.
Yeah. Thank you, Anna, for tuning in. All right, so let's talk about Robo. Jason Robertson. Well, there's been a lot of criticism. If you're in any of these Dallas Stars fan groups on Facebook, there's been a lot of criticism. There's also been some positive. When you look at the stat sheet, not necessarily just goals. When you look at the stat sheet and how he's impacted, he just hasn't gotten that goal yet. But a lot of the players, also Coach DeBoer, saying he's on the cusp of getting it. So will tonight be that night?
Yeah, it's real tricky with a young player in their headspace, you know. So I have a lot of people that are calling for this to be the night that he breaks out. He's a young player. Again, the good news is that in Game 4, Coach DeBoer put him back on the Avengers line with Pavelski. That's when he's done his most damage. So being with Pavelski, I'm thinking he's going to look out soon. In fact, in Game 4, in the opening seconds of that game, he got a great offensive chance. He just wasn't able to cash in. So again, I think it's just as much mental as it is physical. Again, he has not lost any skill, but it can be frustrating when you are not putting the puck in the twine.
Yeah. And let's give a shout out also to Robo. He has been nominated for the King Clancy Trophy, which is for those that contribute in the community, doing community service. And so I think that speaks volume about him and his character as well.
Yeah, it's similar to the Man of the Year award, which Dak Prescott for the Dallas Cowboys has been in. So that's the kind of recognition he's getting in the NHL in terms of what he has done for the community. So yeah, shout out to him. Again, he's a young kid. He's still learning, and the playoffs is a different game.
It's a different beast.
And they say that in a lot of sports, but I think in hockey it is probably more true than any other sport that when playoffs start, it is a different beast.
Yeah. And we had a goal from Rope Hintz last game, and Pavelski just continues to show the all-star that he is, the all-pro, the superstar on this team that he is, and I think we're going to see that again tonight. Home ice. Let's talk about that for a minute and the impact that the Stars fans can have on this game.
Well, home ice has not proven to be much of an advantage in these first 2 rounds at this point. Both teams have won on the other team's ice at this point. Seattle, of course, winning game 1 here in Dallas, and Dallas winning game 4 there in Seattle. We had the exact same situation in Minnesota. Minnesota won game 1 here, and Dallas won game 4 there. So, again, home ice advantage, is just not proven to be much of an advantage.
Right.
So both teams have proven that they can win in the other team's barn. You'd rather have it than not have it, but you still got to make the plays on the ice.
Yeah. We got a question here from Anna. She said, some of the readers told me that they think that Jason Robertson is struggling mentally. I think they're on to something. But what do you and Ivan think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just as much that as anything, In fact, I'm going to tell you something. In the first 2 series, something happened that I did not make enough of at the time, and it's both with Tyler Seguin. Tyler Seguin got a couple of real jinky goals where the puck just trickled into the net. One was on a power play. I can't remember the second one with Seattle, but the one in Minnesota. And I said to myself, when you get little jinky goals like that, that can actually break it for you. For instance, in the NBA, if a guy is missing his shot, he needs to take it to the hole, and hopefully he gets put to the free throw line. He can start making buckets there. So in hockey, basically, if you can get just a lucky bounce, is basically what we're talking about.
Right.
If a lucky bounce, then the floodgates can go. Because again, it's not a skill thing; it's a mental thing.
Right. And I think it's. I do think it's a little bit mental, but I just think he's not pushing the issue, because it's sometimes you over pursue and you end up maybe costing it for your team. So I think he is. I think this may be the night, but I think he is not in. I don't think he's in a bad headspace. I just think it hasn't come to fruition yet.
Well, I think that's exactly why it's a mental thing, because what that mental will make you do is start hesitating. See, a couple of games in the Minnesota series, a couple of commentators and pundits basically said the same thing about Jamie Benn. They're like, I've never seen Jamie Benn be hesitant. Well, that lasted about a game. Well, Jamie Benn is a veteran, so
Right.
Jason Robinson, Robo, is a very young kid. So it takes a little while longer for it to get out of his headspace. So again, that when you say he's not taking it to them, he's not being aggressive enough, he's not putting the puck on net enough. Again, I think even though that's a physical result, I think that's a cause. The origin of that is because he's not in the right headspace.
Yeah. Let's talk about Hanley, who was one of those players that came in, next man up mentality. Talk about him for me.
Yeah, Joe Hanley is a defenseman, and he plays, the reason why I wrote his name down and I wanted to get him mentioned here is because Hanley and Harley have been playing together. And again, I can't give all the credit to Harley, even though I love Harley's game. I love that New York mentality that he plays with.
Yeah.
But Joe Hanley definitely deserves a mention because he's been playing too. Again, you ask a lot of these guys, especially when you got somebody like Miro. See, it's easy to rely on somebody like that and know you got him covered for you. So, but yeah, Hanley has played well along with Harley as well. So he definitely deserves a mention.
Yeah. All right, so we're about an hour away from puck drop. Now, we do have a game on right now on TNT, which is Carolina and the Devils. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a later start. A lot of fans and media members are excited about the game 6, which will be at 6:30. So that is probably the earliest time we've had yet. But let's talk about some keys to the game.
Yeah.
For starts.
Before we go into the keys of the game, I want to give an honorable mention as well to Ryan Suter, because Ryan Suter has kept a couple of pucks out of the net. Okay.
I agree.
There's a couple of big rebounds that were just sitting there, and Ryan Suter came in and knocked them out. They were just in front of the crease, about a foot to 2 feet out in front of the crease, and he just poke checked them out of there. So Ryan Suter is a heads-up player. He's a veteran player. Again, he spent 9 seasons in Minnesota, so he has been a welcome addition to the Stars here. He had to hear it throughout that Minnesota series, so I think he's able to relax a little bit in this series, and he has been pivotal in this series with the Kraken thus far.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want to go without mentioning him.
Yeah. So Robo, I just think is short for Robertson. I think that's probably where that came from.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So I
hockey,
don't think you can do the robot. I don't think that's where it came.
the hockey teams are very quick to give a nickname. You know, Pavelski they call Pabs, Wyatt Johnston they call Johnny.
Right.
You know,
Simple.
So Ottinger they call Otter. You know, so it's real easy. You know, in terms of it's a play off of their name. You know, basically.
Yeah, and it says I think Hanley would be a Stars regular in 1 to 2.
Yeah, quite possibly. Hey, this playoff run is one that we will see in the coming years because they got a very young team. So, pardon me. I got a tickle in my throat, man.
Get him some water.
Yeah. Where's my assistant? But yeah, so Stars have a very young core. So this playoff run, I'm expecting to continue here over the next several years.
Yeah. All right, so some keys to the game for the Stars to get this Game 5 victory.
Yeah, I think it's easy.
Very simple.
There's not a keys to the game that you ask me that I don't miss. I don't mention Otter.
Right.
You know, you got to have Ottinger. You know, he's got to be. He don't have to be at his best, but he's got to be very good. You know, he's got to have a save percentage in around the 92, 93, 94% mark for them to win the game. So you got to have him, and I think that the team feeds on him. When Otter makes big saves, I think it kind of fires them up offensively. So that's going to be my first key to the game.
Yeah. And I'll say mine's is being aggressive. I know that's a cliche term, but the games that you've seen them be aggressive has resulted in 5, 6 goals. So I think doing that and not, they talked about this on the ESPN coverage, is that sometimes the Stars are I don't know what term they used exactly, but they're kind of trying to get the perfect shot or being in that area where you can get a clear shot on goal. But I think a lot of it is just being aggressive and getting that shot no matter what it is. And you'll definitely see some success. So I think that's a key for me.
And I'm going to kind of piggyback on that. After game 2, during the post-game press conference with Coach DeBoer, I'd asked him about how physical the guys were, and he said that was an intentional thing. So I think they need to be very, very physical with Seattle. Yeah. So remember the Minnesota series and how physical they were with us and how much of a problem that caused for us. Right. I think we need to do the same thing with them. So be not only aggressive, but be very physical.
Yeah. And fans are starting to come in, getting excited. They got the towels on the seats, so the fans and this building will definitely be rocking. Texas Stars have looked good for at least the last 5 years. I remember seeing them when I covered the San Jose Barracuda and the San Jose Sharks. Yeah, this is a deep team and a deep organization, period. And there's been a guy that they've called up numerous times and they took him back down. I think it's Riley Tuttle, I believe, from the Texas Stars. And so there's a lot of depth that is on this or in this organization.
Harley actually got sent down earlier this year, to kind of get his head right, and that's proven to be a very good move. Again, Jim Neal is making all the right moves this season. So when it comes to GM of the year, as far as I'm concerned, he needs to be getting some votes if he hadn't already.
Yeah. All right. Any other keys to the game before we get out of here?
Jamie Ben, one of the things that Jamie Ben did in game 4 when he was going off the ice in between one of the intermissions, he just stared down the Seattle Kraken bench. And he made eye contact with 5 or 6 of their players, and he just mean-mugged them. So I think that's a very important deal, for him to continue to be aggressive in terms of that.
Anna's saying the Stars need to be more aggressive, solve the Kraken's forecheck, get more shots into the net, like win faceoffs too.
Yeah, they've been very successful.
We can get them some water.
They've been very successful on faceoffs. That percentage is very high in terms of how many faceoffs they've won. So.
Yeah.
But
All right.
yeah, you can't. One of the things that the Stars have done in the past is that they try to look for the perfect shot. You know,
Yes.
and you can't look for the perfect shot. You got to just put it on goal, and good things will happen.
Yeah.
You never know. You get a rebound, you get a lucky bounce. So just keep putting it on there.
Yep. All right. So we are about what are we about? 50 minutes away from puck drop. Big shout out to the Stars media team, giving new promos. If you're on Twitter or if you follow them on Instagram or Facebook, you'll be able to see all of these. So we're going to leave you guys with that and predictions.
Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
At iKingDawk, at BS3 Sports, at BS3 Network.
We will be live tweeting the game. So whatever your top news, we will be posting it. If there's an injury, we'll post that as well, an update on that injury. So make sure to follow us. And follow us on BS3 Sports on YouTube. We've got interview content on there. Whenever there's an interview, you'll be able to go there and see it and get it. So we will leave you guys there.
You say you want
Prediction, yes.
This is a tough one. I'm going to say the Stars continue with the same trajectory that they did in the Minnesota series. And I'm gonna call the Stars victory tonight. It's gonna be a little closer than it was the other wins. So I'm gonna call it a 3-2 Stars victory in a close one.
Okay. I'm gonna go Stars as well. I think this will be the first time that they will win back-to-back games, which that's definitely been in this series. Yes. So I definitely I'm gonna predict the Stars. I'm gonna agree. I was thinking 3-2. I think it is going to be a little bit closer, and I think the home ice will give them an advantage, and the Stars will not back down, and neither will Seattle. So it'll be a great game. Stars win 2-1, says Andy. All right, so we'll leave you guys with that, and we will see you when we see you on the field.